Alrighty, welcome everyone. This is the second episode of VR Jungle. I have Jordan right here with me, and he is part of Havoc. He is in the Larcenots team as our active captain. And I'm Matt Gerolds. I am the, what do you call me? I don't know if owner, founder of Havoc, but we get on these podcasts right now and just go over all sorts of VR fun stuff. So, Jordan, if you want to continue talking about yourself, go ahead and let people know who you are.
Yeah, sure. So everyone knows me as U.S.M.C. Contra in the Discords, on Larcenots, on all that. I'll go into, I guess, a little bit of my background, just kind of so that way you know where I come from. I originally grew up with like three brothers, and one of those brothers played sports, but the other two, they were big into technology, big into computers. And so one of like the first games that I really got into was Counter-Strike, which if anyone who has had a PC in the past and who's had played PC games and all that, they know what Counter-Strike is. Because it was almost like it was the birth of, really, in my opinion, it was the birth of modern multiplayer FPS shooters. Because you had FPS shooters like Doom, a few others like Duke Nukem and stuff like that, but nothing up until Counter-Strike really set the tone for the new era of those very competitive, what we now have as esports gaming environments like Counter-Strike. So that kind of all kicked it off, and that's primarily what I grew up with playing. And then I joined the Marine Corps. I've been in the Marine Corps for about 13 years. I was prior enlisted. I recently switched over to the officer side, but I did things like I was a generator mechanic to start with. I did prior service recruiting. I'm a martial arts instructor for the Marine Corps, and I did aviation ordnance. And I just recently kind of made the switch over to the officer side, and now I'm a communications officer.
Yeah.
So, I guess Counter-Strike definitely set the tone, and I feel like that was kind of like the beginning of my gaming career. I did have a huge gap after I'd gotten back from Afghanistan in 2011. I had a gap of I think 8 years where I wasn't playing any games, just because I had a laptop at one time. It was a gaming laptop, and it kind of crapped the bed, and past that, finances weren't great at that period in time. So, and then I got into VR and completely took a whole new road.
Yeah. So how long have you been playing VR then?
I started VR actually last summer. I was at the basic school, which is it's a 6-month officer course where basically you go there and they teach you how to be a what do they call it? Not a conventional, provisional infantry platoon commander.
Yeah.
And so I was there, and the thing that really stuck out in my mind, I played Counter-Strike and Half-Life and all that stuff, is I was looking around and I saw Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
And I instantly thought, oh my God, this is the third Half-Life. Like, I'm so pumped. You get that adrenaline flow, and you find a new game or like a continuation of the game because you've got that nostalgic feeling that just courses through your veins. You're like, oh, hell yes, I've got to check this out. And so I was looking around and I was like, what the heck? This looks incredibly weird, because I had heard before that I had heard of VR. My brother actually had a original Oculus, I think they call it like a CV1, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I saw it and I was like, oh, it's for VR. And it was at that moment that I was like, I want a VR headset.
Yeah.
Only so I can play Half-Life Alyx. Because for those, were you big into Half-Life and Counter-Strike and that growing up?
So I didn't. I was more of just straight Call of Duty. When I talk about how I got really into competitive stuff, is growing up we always had the PlayStation, right? And so before even online play, it was more of playing sports games. And then my very first competitive thing was more of my older brother always destroying me in every single game I've ever been playing. And, that's usually typical what happens with the younger person, because he'll probably sit there a lot longer. And I have attention span of a freaking 4-year-old, obviously, and he's 8 years old. Not good. Well, then as I got older, we started playing the very first version of Call of Duty, where you get into the social lobby and it was not pretty in there. People screaming at each other before lobbies, after lobbies, calling you profound names that you never. That was where I started at.
Okay. Well, I'm sure if you ask anyone who's ever played Half-Life or been a Half-Life, I'll call them Half-Life enthusiasts, the ones who played Counter-Strike for several years. I mean, hell, I played Counter-Strike Source last summer, so
Mm-hmm.
over the course of, what are we looking at, 20 years? I've been, not constantly, but I'm touching Counter-Strike here and there for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
And so anyone who was an original fan of Half-Life, um, and they see that, they would you have that, like I was saying, that reaction. And so
Yeah.
it was at that moment I was like, I need to get a headset just for Half-Life Alex, because
So
I've
is
been
it remade or a new game based off
no
of Half Life?
so Half-Life Alex it takes place in between, it takes place like a couple of years before Half-Life 2. So it's almost like a prequel,
Okay.
and it actually wasn't a setup, or it wasn't set up as like a Half-Life 3 game. You actually play Alex, which
Mm-hmm.
is one of the female characters that is in Half-Life, but it's not the main protagonist, Gordon Freeman, which
Yeah.
everyone knows. Gordon Freeman knows that crowbar, knows that what is it, the not the Omega symbol, but like the damn it, beta symbol, I think,
Yeah.
that awkward A or whatever. Um, yeah, and so that's kind of where Half-Life Alex takes place. But even though you're not even Gordon Freeman, to be in that universe of, hey, you're doing things in this game that directly correlate or tie into Gordon Freeman and the further games. So it comes back to that nostalgia feeling, being able to feel
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm part of the franchise. It's almost like the Star Wars spin-off movies, like Solo or Rogue
Okay.
One. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an actual Star Wars movie, but it's little side story arcs that still have
Yeah.
you interested, because it gives you a further picture and more
Exactly.
overall
Yeah. I see what you're
concept
saying
of,
now.
yeah. And so that's what really started me off on VR. And so I picked up a Oculus Rift S,
Okay.
because that was one of the newer headsets. The Oculus Quest 2 hadn't come out yet.
Mm-hmm.
I picked up a Rift S, and I picked up, I had built a PC, not super powerful, but something that could
Run it.
at least get me, yeah, at least could run Half-Life Alex, which is a little bit more of a demanding of a VR game. Um, I'm sure if you've ever played it, you can kind of tell, like, the graphics, everything's a little bit more rendered, a little
Yeah.
bit more crisp. So it's a lot more demanding on the system. And I just wanted something that I could just at least run that. So eventually I did, and I got it. And then I got into a couple other games. Moss, Blade and Sorcery, Beat Saber,
Yeah.
games kind of like that. And then I eventually found a game called Contractors,
Yep.
which it's like the Call of Duty version for VR.
Yeah.
And I got into that for a while, played that, um, and I fell in love with that. And then move on, fast forward to, when did Larcenauts come out? Was that June of this year? I think it was June.
So it's 3 months. I think it's coming up on 4 months old.
So May or June, right around that time
Yeah.
frame. But I was at TBS. I'm sorry, not TBS. I was at my MOS school, and during that week we had these evaluations where you make this project and you go in there and you have to present it. And these projects take like 45 minutes to an hour to present.
Yeah.
And when you have to do that with four, we'll call them instructors, four instructors who are grading these, and you have 75 students with an hour apiece, like, that's
Mm-hmm.
going to take a few days.
Yeah.
And it happened during that week where I don't remember what I was doing. I was hanging out on my computer, looking around at different games for VR.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not, I wasn't even doing that, but I saw some sort of an ad that kind of piqued my interest, and I saw this game called Larcenauts.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time watching the trailer, you know that feeling, that rush that you get when you watch a trailer and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, this looks sweet.
Yeah.
I want
For
it.
sure.
I want it now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that, and it was actually I found it the day before the game came out. And so I was like, oh, this looks so sweet. I can't wait for this thing to come out. When's it coming out? And I'm
Yeah.
expecting to see like, hey, freaking, I don't know, August or,
Uh-huh.
fall of this year. And I look and it's like, oh man, I think it was like June 20 something,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe, early mid June
Yeah.
or late June or something. I remember seeing it and being like, wait a sec. That's tomorrow.
Yeah, like I
Oh
don't have to wait for
shit.
this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I
And
knew about it for
so
a while, and so I was waiting for because any game that is like kind of a hero shooter, kind of first person like that, like you just run and go, and then not
absolutely.
only that, it's strategy, and like I'm really excited to see the other game modes they're bringing, and like the private lobbies and stuff. But when I first saw that game, because I was a huge Overwatch player. And I'm just like, oh, that's VR and Overwatch. That's a done deal for me. That's probably gonna be the game that I'll probably always play.
Yeah. Um, I had the same feeling. It's funny because I never played like Overwatch or Team Fortress. I had played Team Fortress 2 in the past,
Yeah.
but not extensively. I played it a couple of times just because I had it with the whole Half-Life bundle. You got Half-Life, you got Counter-Strike, you got
Mm-hmm.
Team Fortress. So I dabbled in it a little
Yeah.
bit, but not much. But something stuck out about this game that was different from Onward, different from Contractors, different from Pavlov.
Yeah.
All those ones. Everyone's kind of on the same field. It's more of a determination of who has the best shot and who's more skillful. Not to say that this isn't the same way, but it's a different dynamic. Like you have different pieces, you got to figure out which piece
Mm-hmm.
you want to use and how to use that, rather than
Exactly.
just like, hey, all these pieces are the same, they're the best pieces. So kind of almost not quite a game of luck, but who has the better players. But
Yeah.
I feel like in Larsenauts, it's not going to come down to individual effort. It's going to come down to team effort once we get further into it.
Yeah. Like there's plenty of times I've seen a single person completely flip the dynamic of that certain specific game, but it's only a split second. It's not going to be the full definition of who's going to win or lose that match. It could really put pressure on somebody, one person, but at the same time, if that one person gets in that same position again, and they've already switched out people, like, hey, we need to start going this way. We need to push people to be being healed in this situation. I guarantee in a competitive format that person will not be able to get away with it again in 2 games. I mean, in the same game.
I completely agree.
Because there's plenty of times where I've destroyed a full team, and then I went back and tried to do it again. I'm just like, oh, I'm dead. That was good.
Yep. It's funny how that works. So, but yeah, I saw this game coming out, and the next day, it was actually, I had the entire day off because I wasn't getting graded that day, so I was sitting at home, and I saw Larsenauts go live, and I'm like, oh, should I buy it? I literally sat there for probably 15 or 20 minutes, being like, it looks so good, but I don't know if I want to. And now, knowing what I know now, I would have happily paid more than $30 for this game.
Really? I was going to ask you, was the $30, did it hold you back at any point in time? Like, this is kind of steep, because when I saw it, I'm just like, there was no beta for the game, no alpha, no beta. I knew it was coming out, but I was just like, it was instantly $30. I'm like, it doesn't even have a player base, nothing. Like, I usually, when I see a game in VR, like, say, take Zenith for instance right now, they've been doing their alpha and betas in a whole Discord already created within the first the first year, even before the game's about to come out, and then they have the ability to sell it at a higher price. But right now they're giving small, pretty much versionings of their game for free to anybody.
Yeah.
I don't think it's free. I think it's like people paid a certain subscription package for a month, pretty much helping them out though. But if you really want a game like that, you're going to help people out. So, and that's why I saw that $30. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, I'll pay it. I'm going to like this game regardless.
Yeah, I think originally for me it was, this was only a couple months ago, but I have, not to get personal, but I have a little like fun money account that I put small amounts of money in there, and then that's my account that I can use on like whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be responsible adult, but so at the time I didn't have much left in my account just because I had been buying a bunch of other crap, and so I was like, oh, I've got like $32 left. Do I want to spend $30 on this game? But if I had to have I would have I would have probably spent up to 50 for it. Like
Really?
knowing what I know now.
That'd
I
be like
think it
the
is
highest VR game ever purchased. I don't think there is any game that sells higher
Half
than 30.
Half-Life Alex is the only one I know of that comes in at $60, which is a
$60.
standard video game, just like Xbox or PS, whatever
Yeah.
they're on, 5 or whatever. So I mean, but that one is straight up like 15 hours of solo player content. And if you think about it, it's funny how VR games vary so differently in that way. We're so used to paying $60 for Xbox, PS5,
Mm-hmm.
these AAA games, Call of Duty, and all that stuff. But because of the VR environment, something about it is different, where we're starting to see these games that are 30, $40, and we're like, wow, that's kind of steep for a
Yeah.
VR game. Which, I mean, it's different. It is. I understand there's different aspects to it, but
It just,
yeah, I think it was well worth it for sure.
I think what people see in VR, it's not really the price, because I'm one of those people that I buy, if I really enjoy a Nintendo game or a PlayStation game, and then I really enjoy a VR game, I'll probably buy all three of those in 1 month. That's like $100. But then people are like, why you have such problems spending 30 when you probably just spent $60 in a game you're probably never going to play, all this stuff. I'm just like, well, it's usually coming from someone that has credibility. A lot of these VR games come from like an indie level, and then all of a sudden think that they can produce this really beautiful game, which sometimes it works out and sometimes it fails. And then I think that's on them, or maybe the community wasn't driven by something great. It's like almost like Population One now. Like originally it was being sold at a lower price, but now Facebook owns it. So now technically they're allowed to sell it for a higher price because they have Facebook's actual backing and money to be like, hey, we can actually do great things for you. You see, and so, but all in all, I do see eventually headsets will have to get bigger in size with gigs. Like I do recommend to a lot of people, if you get a Quest, I would not, even though you'll probably never go over 64 gigs for a while, but if you plan on not wanting to buy another headset for like 5-10 years, which by that time you probably will need to because it'll be outdated in some format. But these games are going to get bigger in gigs. Like I think right now, so Population One, I think it's all up to 10 gigs now just for one game, and that's kind of big for a VR game. And I don't know what Larsenauts is. I don't even think it's a full. I think it's under 5 gigs. But
Okay, I was trying to check it on my computer real
yeah,
quick, but that might take a little bit for me to get there, find it. Um,
yeah. So with all that though, we did see a little bit of downfall, and I just think that they needed a beta, in my opinion. It was still working the way it was, but there were some things that just weren't correct with it. But the good thing is that as we talk about this, is that if they didn't have the people that were devs on their team, I don't think it would ever get done. But their devs have been phenomenal. Like they get stuff done quicker than I've ever seen things, and they also throw extra things out as well.
so that's actually one of the big things that kept me, like, even after the first 2 weeks of people throwing horrible reviews at it. It instantly stuck out because coming from contractors, I don't know if you played contractors, but
I
how
tried it.
often, yeah, I mean, it was a sweet game, but there were still issues, there were
Hmm.
bugs, and a lot of people were calling for fixes and stuff that just never got done. Like it
Yeah.
almost seemed like the devs were non-existent, and then
Hmm.
just out of the blue, one day they came out with this co-op mode and stuff, and it was like, okay, that's cool, but you guys didn't fix any of the
Yeah.
issues
Actual underlying
that we
issues.
have, yeah, in the whole PvP or whatever you want to consider it. And so, like, yeah, cool, that grabs my attention for a few days.
Hmm.
And the rate at which updates came out is just extremely slow. It, like, sometimes it would go like months, like 6 months between two updates or something. And
Hmm.
then Larsenauts comes out, and literally
Yep.
the week after it released, they released a hotfix, and a week after that they released another hotfix. And it
Hmm.
seems like we've been, I mean, no, lately it's been a little bit more lengthy between patches, but I can understand why, because they're coming out, they're working on that new specialist, the new map, and the new game mode, and all these other fixes. So I think they've been kind of holding off on putting out releases so that way they can release this one massive patch as, hey, here's all this new content, here's fixes, here's balances, and here's some other cool stuff that you guys can, try out and play around with. Here's private lobbies, which I know we're all looking forward to get into that competitive realm. So I love how interactive and how responsive the devs have been. They've been amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And this is probably the quickest I've seen a game at this level push out private lobbies. We waited, I think it was almost 8 to 9 months before we saw private lobbies in Population 1.
Jesus.
It almost seemed like it was the longest thing. It almost seemed like it was like the last thing they really wanted to give us was private lobbies. And I don't know, that was my opinion, because it was kind of a delayed thing. And anytime you did go in there and play what is it called? Just their beta of a new update, you would never see it, and then you see something else. And there's sometimes I love doing these beta things because you really get to see what the devs are thinking about. And I remember I did a beta for Population 1, and I got in there, and I was just like, oh no. I go, this is real? I'm done. I'm not playing this game ever again. This is not good. And it just blew my mind. And it is luckily that never happened. And so I know Larsenos just had a trial play, and we had one of our team members that was, got into it. But obviously they're in that, what is it called? They can't talk about it. Yeah, non-disclosure. So luckily he's kept that to him, even though maybe I poked him a little bit, but no, he's holding true to it.
I think we all did a little bit.
Yeah, but luckily he's a pretty solid person that for testing, he's just I'm not giving you guys crap. And I go, just let me know if it's good. I just want to know if it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we did have Square mention in the chat here that Larsenos is 3.9 gigs as it stands right now.
Okay, and I mean it helps that the new quests that they just released are for the cheaper model. It's 128 gig.
Yeah, but I'm confused. Mine's 128 gigs, and I bought it a year ago.
Huh.
I thought they had two versions, unless mine's a 64 gig and they had a smaller one than that.
No, because they had I thought they had a 256. I thought it was 64 or 256, or maybe it might have been even 5.
So mine is 256 gigs.
Yeah, you got the bigger one?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you've got the 256 probably.
Yeah, which stinks because all you're buying it's $100 more. And the reason why I bought it is because, one, there was no PlayStation 5s out. I wasn't even getting to VR. I had no interest in VR because I thought it was still putting on red and blue glasses back in the 90s and things just jump out at you. That's what I thought it was. And so I couldn't find a PlayStation 5 last year because of the pandemic stuff going on, and people were just still to this day ungodly buying out every electronic known to man. And then I saw this Quest, and I'm just like, you know what? At Target, they have a policy that you can buy it, and if you don't like it within a month, you can take it back. So I'm just whatever. I'll play it for a couple, a week or two. If I don't like it, I'll just take it back. I'm nah, I don't like it. So all they had left was this 256 gig, and so I was like, you know what? That's fine. I was hoping that maybe with that 256 that the processing power would be a little bit better, but nope, that's not it. It's just more memory. But I remember I went home, and I think the very first game I bought was Population 1. And should not have been my first game ever, because it blew my freaking mind, and I never gave it back. And now I can competitively play in multiple games, so. But yeah, it wasn't the red and blue that I thought it was going to be. I was just like, oh wow.
Yeah. Yep, that was the same way. So.
What do you? So we talked pretty much about yourself and then the game. That pretty much Larsenos, which is basically the game that I'm personally now playing. I think even me and you've had a couple conversations because you even asked me one day, which one are you going to leave? And I sat there, like, I'm not kidding. I sat there for a day because no one's ever asked me at some point, like, you probably should just pick one because it's not fair to another team if you're on them, if you're not doing that. And I was just like, dang, like,
Well,
that's a good question.
my big thing is like for me, honestly, if I've got no problem with someone playing two different games, but the concern is if you're playing two different games, that means um, you need to be constantly updated with both of those games.
Yeah.
And if you're just focused on one, you can devote all that time to just that one game rather than taking that time that you have and having to split it in half.
Yeah.
And you still might be able to make it work. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but you just have you have a more knowledgeable baseline of everything that's going on currently, everything that's gone on, everything that's happening, everything that is coming up with that one game, rather than kind of focusing on the two games. You might miss a couple things. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm sure people can still do it, but it's like it, it's complicated. We'll put
No,
it that way.
yeah, no, I totally understand like what you meant. Like, especially when I had to think about it, it's more the fact that there's nothing wrong with playing multiple VR games, or just because if not, you're going to get burnt out. And that's the biggest
Mhm.
thing I warn people is don't play this game till you just don't want to play it anymore. And that's a thing. And so that's why I do go play other VR games. Like one of the biggest games that I play right now is at 11 table tennis. I'll get on there at night and just sit there and play ping pong with people all night. And that just gets me cleared off of just like always going, 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 going. And not only that, but I can't tell you how many times Monday through Friday, like say like in Population One when I was on a team for that, is that we would have our main league play on Tuesday or Wednesday, but then in between those they would want to have the scheduled practices in private lobbies,
Mhm.
and then I need to play with you guys, even though we don't have private lobbies right now. We still need to get together and just build team dynamics because that's all we can
Yeah.
do right now until private lobbies come out. And so I had to keep on telling them like, "Oh, I can't play today. Can't play today." And I'm just like, "That's not fair." Especially when I started losing interest in it, and I don't know if just in my opinion, this game that we're playing now, give it 6 months to a year, it'll probably have the most highly competitive platform in VR because it's something where it takes 6 people and it's going to be full on strategy. Unlike Population One, most people that I know and competitively have played against, it only takes you got 3 people destroying, trying to be number one in a lobby. But out of those 3 people, one person can easily destroy those 3 people. There's not really much. I mean, maybe you got to force it and learn how to go around people, but there's so many more factors compared to. It's more of like oh, what do you call it? It's like you get to know the other team a little better because you're sitting there for how long's a match? 5-10 minutes, if that.
Yeah, if that.
It's a little more there. The word is it's a little more intimate. Is what I'm trying
Yep.
to get at. Is it's more of a chess game instead of just a full on out. We know there's a team here, a team there. That team's fighting there.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and jump in this chaos somewhere that's going to give us the win.
And it adds a completely whole new dynamic when you have different options of characters. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could use, hey, maybe you're playing uplink. Hey, let's take a Thal so he can put up a shield. Let's take a Chi so he can just heal people.
Yeah.
Let's take a Salters so that way if they try and come at us in like a full wave, she can just start lobbing grenades or something. Or let's take an Evander so he can like sneak up on him. Hey, Evander, your only job is to mark him. Stay cloaked. So there's so many different dynamics that I feel like are definitely going to come out with this game.
Yep.
I don't feel like there's just one way to win. It's going to be ever changing. I feel like every tournament that everyone goes into, they're going to see things that maybe they didn't think of, and they're going to be like, oh, we need to change it up to this, maybe change it up to this, and then they're going to go into the next tournament, and everyone's going to have changed something, and so that exact same thing is just going to keep repeating and repeating, as long as the devs slightly kind of change things up, make sure if everything is completely balanced,
Mm-hmm.
strategies will just constantly change because everyone will just be trying to counter each other.
Yeah.
Which is what I really like that they've done with this game is you have certain characters that counter a specific other character very well, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll be bad against other characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I know Thal just because I play him a lot. Thal is good against Salters just because, she shoots grenades and those grenades will hit the shield and they'll bounce back or something. But Thal might be bad against,
Acclaimia, because I can get right behind
yeah,
your back.
Kalimia, or even Arc,
Mm-hmm.
with them moving around so much.
Yeah.
Or yeah, there's other really good like
Because
counters to certain characters. So
yeah, because a lot of people don't know there's weak points on every character, and it's like so like a Thal. If I get on your backside and I shoot the paneling, it actually
yeah.
kills you 10 times faster.
Oh yeah, that's what I try and do. Like every time I see a Thal and he's not looking at me, I try and just go right up behind him and just
Yep.
right in that plate. So um, I feel like the strategies are definitely constantly going to change. People are going to find new strategies and new things. What I feel like what's really going to set up the competitive, or I guess the biggest unknown right now is if you're going to be able to team more than one of the same character, or if it's just going to be draft style. Hey, you can only have one of each character. Okay, that really changes something. Or maybe they do a point buy system. Certain characters are worth more, like maybe VOD is worth 2 or 3 points. Maybe you have 10 points total. VOD is worth 2 or 3 points. A Chi is worth 2 or 3 points. Other characters are worth 2. Other characters are worth 1.
It's an interesting, very interesting look at it.
Yeah, it all depends on how they proceed with that. Because if they
Yeah.
just go with a free for all, I'm sure you're going to see a team with 3 VODs, 3 Chis.
I won't. I won't. I will not. I can tell you right now, Havoc will not be in a league with that one bit.
Yeah, I don't see why they would want to do that. I think that will be that will create too much of a meta.
It will, because I know for a fact if they allow us to do that, I will literally run Chi the VOD constantly.
Yeah.
And just heal it and run it, and then it's going to be bad because then there's going to be another team that does the same thing, and it's going to be boring is what's going to happen.
Exactly. But if they do make it where it's, hey, what do you call it? Not a raffle system. Draft. If they either do it draft or a point system, I could see that going multiple different ways as long as everyone's balanced. Be like, hey, all right, let's buy a Chi because we want the support, we want that healing. Let's buy an Arc because he definitely has that speed along with Kalima. They have that speed, they have the utility, even though they're a little bit softer getting hit.
Yeah.
Let's buy a Thal because his shield's good. Let's buy a Bosun because that turret's nice. We like to hide behind it. XYZ. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So I'm really interested which one they're going to pick going forward.
Yeah, and I think the easiest just to get a league or tournaments going will definitely just be like, hey, your team only gets one per character. It's just the hardest part about doing the one per character thing is there's just not enough characters. I think down the road when they have 20, like even 10, like 10, 20 characters, that's going to change the way everyone looks at it because everyone has to play something in those realm of what? I think there's 6 characters, right?
There's 8 right now.
8.
That 9th one is coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Right. And so as long as they keep adding heroes into this, then it's really going to change to where you're not going to have that big of a problem. And if people do end up playing the same character, I don't think it'd be too big of a problem down the road just because I just hope that they still, like a new character, they don't make them the next overpowered thing so people want them so much, And that's what I'm not going to be a fan of C. I hope that they're just like any other character. They have their faults, but they also have a value. And I don't even know what it is. I honestly think it's going to be another healer. And that's just my opinion. I think they need another healer.
Either that or another melee character. So that's one of the biggest things that's kind of irked me. While VOD is he is very difficult to go up against as a newer player, but as veteran players, VOD gets melted.
I can melt him quickly.
Gets obliterated. So that's why I'm kind of, I hope they redo him because if they nerf him again, he will not even be able to compete in competitive matches. Like he's going to be, if they nerf him again, he's going to be so weak. No one will want him.
I don't think they should nerf him. I don't know exactly what to do with him. I mean, he does maybe add a shield to him. I don't know. There's got to be something with him right now because as it sits right now, and in a competitive level, like you said, he is probably the weakest link. And I think out of a defense player, being that weak is can be a problem. But I've also the only way to make him strong at this point is you have to have a chi with him.
Yeah, either that or the other option with him. What I like to do a lot is flank. So like your team is engaging, a couple of guys, take that VOD and go on the flank. The downfall of that is you are by yourself. So if you come up against like a Salters or a Thal who has a full overcharge, you're going to get melted real quick.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's been my experience. But if you can get that flank off, or if you can get up close to them and they don't see you coming until last second, that's where VOD really shines. So
Yeah.
we'll see what competitive lobbies are going to be like. I definitely would like to say he is a strong candidate, but you've got to use him tactically and be careful because he can easily, if you have 2 or 3 Kalimas and you're without a healer, you get melted pretty quick if they've got that OC charge.
Yeah, and Square was saying in the chat that a lot of people are hoping for a bow character, which would be pretty unique.
That would be pretty cool too.
It'd be pretty hard on the programming, I think, because you would have to pull back actual, and it's like, how's that reloading? Would it have to be a crossbow rather than a compound bow? Because that's gonna be pretty hard for someone to always know where the pull. Like, is it just pull and go, and it's just gonna have a crosshair and it's gonna go where you put the crosshair, or is there actually gonna be some type of physics with it?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm really curious what the next character is gonna be. I used to play a game a long time ago called. What was it called? It was a hero shooter, a lot like Larcenauts, but this was multiple years ago when I had my that gaming laptop that lasted for a little.
Yeah, it wasn't Paladins, was it?
No, I think it was before that. Battleborn.
Battleborn.
And they had a lot of different characters, and I remember that being fun because they had a couple of melee characters. Like I think they had one that was kind of similar to VOD, how he's like a brawler, but then they also had like a sword and shield chick, and then they had some dude who dual wielded swords, but they also had like a sniper, a healer. They had all those very similar concepts, and I remember it working very well, just like Larcenauts, every character has something different. Every character brings something valuable to the fight.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where you're like, I want every character on my team at the same time because they all, like, everything everyone has is valuable. But the issue is I can only have 6 out of those 8, soon to be 9. So which ones do I choose? Which ones do I find most valuable? Which ones can I take the best advantage of tactically and strategically and win a fight with them? Because that's what it's going to come down to when we get to competitive lobbies.
So do you think that they're going to allow slates?
I'm kind of mixed on that. If they did add slates, I think it would change the options up a lot, but I have a fear that it's going to cause a meta. Because take a look at, I'll throw FN out there. FN has a level 5 damage slate that completely changes how many times he has to hit someone. Like 25% damage increase or a 25% health increase are going to be, I think those are probably the 2 main ones that anybody's going to go for, is either damage or health.
Yeah.
And if those are the only ones that people are going to go for, what's the point in having slates? Why not just strip them all anyway and just have everyone, flat? So that way you can really get a feel of everyone's strategy and their skill level.
Yeah, because right now I'm working on cleanest slate for complete. I think it's like the highest is 25% health, but like that's still like, if I'm going up against someone that's new, that's never played the game, doesn't have a single slate, I will win every single battle unless I'm already hurt. Like if full health, that's not gonna. You're not gonna pull off a win. I don't care how good you come in, it's not gonna happen.
Oh yeah, because like that reminds me. Who was it? I think it was Zero. He plays Chi a lot. He's actually the one I did the Chi chat with. What was that last event? or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I played with him, and I know he has a health slate. I think he's up to level 4, and I'm only at level 2. And while sometimes I can pull off a kill, uh, a majority of the time he'll outlast me. He'll out survive me just because he has
Yeah.
more health. Especially when I'm not running a health slate because I have a level 5 movement speed slate, which I use because that's great because I can keep up with VOD. I can
Mm-hmm.
sort of keep up with Kalima and Arc. I mean, obviously they'll just outrun me if they just keep go 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 go. But
Yeah.
having that extra boost of speed to catch up to characters who are typically faster is really good because it means I can stick up with them and support them via heals and maybe even like assist damage and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. But
but,
so if we pull slates right,
mhm.
what do you do about people that have been playing since the very beginning, and now you got a person trying to get into the competitive field, but he doesn't have all of his characters maxed out at level 20? That's also a huge factor because I don't know why the leveling. I didn't even know it. I thought they just had leveling for the characters for no reason. But then I guess if you are actual level 20 with your character, it does add more health, more damage.
It does, but I feel like
I just want to know the stats on these. Like, I need paperwork. I need a document that shows me stats of this.
so if you go into the game and you select a character, if you highlight the level, it will actually pull up the increased stats,
Oh,
and it's
really?
it's not significant. It's little amounts. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
uh, it'll be like 3%, which is very extremely minimal. And if you're talking about both of us standing right in front of each other, shooting in the chest, yeah, you might die one bullet sooner than I will. But I think
Yeah.
it's so minor that it's insubstantial,
Yeah. And
at
so,
least in my opinion.
yeah. And so with this, though, it matters for one, if a new season comes out or when they start getting the seasons or however they're going to do it. Say next year they add another 20 levels for that to be. As it progresses, because I've seen a lot of games, they wait till it gets so far and then they allow the leveling to happen more to give
Mhm.
people something to go for. And I really think the only way to fix this is if the leveling isn't RNG. It's who you're playing is who you're
Yeah,
leveling.
yeah,
Only way to fix this.
that's been addressed a lot in the Discord. People are kind of annoyed, like, "Hey, I've been playing Kalima for months, and I have other characters that are
Mm-hmm.
higher level than my main character that I play. How is this working out?" So I wouldn't be surprised if they change that up in the upcoming update. At the same time, I can see the appeal of being like, "Oh, I want to level up this character."
Mm-hmm.
Um, to me personally, it doesn't matter. Like, just save that work that you're going to spend on developing this stuff. Create a new character, create a
Mm-hmm.
new map, give us something new besides just a few levels to add fractions of a percentage to our health or something.
Yeah.
I would much rather see them work on characters, maps, game modes, other stuff, balances, than um, give us more levels or something like that.
Yeah. And I could definitely see that. I agree with that 100%. Uh, just because I don't know, there's a lot of things that you hear through the grapevines and stuff like that, like maybe paid for boxes to help people grow slates and stuff. Like that's a thing. I really hope that doesn't happen because that's gonna be more of a pay to win type format then.
Yeah, and those individuals who have a lot of time, I hope they do something. They allow you to buy for the individuals who do have a lot of money. I hope they allow you to find a way to spend that. Um, but I definitely see what you're saying by if they have those boxes, if it's hey, you can just pay for them. Those
Mm-hmm.
individuals who spend way more time, who maybe have a naturally just have a lot more free time. The school kids during the summers, they're going to have way more time to just play. And as we all know, the more you play, the more money you just naturally get. Once
Yeah.
you buy everything you can from the store, it's like it just accrues. It sits there in a cruise. Like right now, I have 50,000 solars, which is not a high amount compared to other
Mm-hmm.
people. I've heard of other people in the server who have like 150 or even 200 by this point. Um, so it's difficult because like how do you reward them for having that much money, but at the same time, how do you reward them without giving them such a huge advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, and you pretty much got to go to the platform that every game's gone, which is Battle Pass.
Hmm.
And I am a huge supporter of Battle Passes because they can find a way to do a daily, weekly, monthly, and attach it to that. They can add the time played to it. That every game gives you so much XP, and you have a way to earn good things. Like even like say every time they make a new character, if they say, "Hey, let's instead of just giving it to you and then you have to randomly get it through a box like they did with all the characters." Like I know people till this day that's had the game since it came out and still don't have all the characters, and that's a problem, especially when you pay $30 for a game and you're not even
Yeah.
getting everything because it's nothing you can do. It's the way that the game is designed that it's just holding you back from it. And so if they say, "Hey, here's this month right here. If you don't want to do the RNG, you pay $5-10 to do this like month long event, and at the very end, you get the character." Something like that, but I don't know if because people will just pay it all out. Like if it was like
Some,
$50 to get a new character just off the bat and get extra stuff, like, all right, here's my $50. Give me the character.
yeah. Something else they could do with the solars, they could just develop skins that specifically had to have a significant amount of solars to buy that skin. Like that's the only way to get it. That would be one way to kind of drain a lot of people's solars that have a
Mm-hmm.
crap ton. But at the same time, it's kind of like you're giving the people who don't have solars something to work forward to. Like, hey, a new skin just came out for this character. This is my main character. I love playing this character. I want the skin so bad. So like that's their primary focus is just getting solars so they can get that skin. And that doesn't change the gameplay at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's completely what do you call it? Appearance. I'm having a brain fart. I don't remember the word, but all it is an appearance thing. It doesn't affect the gameplay. It doesn't affect anything in the game. It's just,
Yeah.
oh, cool. This is, or they could even do gun skins or stuff like that, like Call
Mm-hmm.
of Duty has done in the past.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what this update's going to come out with because I feel like they're going to have a lot of stuff. At least that's what I'm hoping for. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff, a lot of
And
changes.
there's like things I want that I used to you see in Overwatch. Like at the end of Overwatch, they have an MVP and then a clip of the game. So they take someone. I don't know how they do it in their coding, whatever, but they find someone who, in their opinion, did the best like play of it. And it's like someone that you don't even see within the game, but he like literally just killed the whole entire team. You're just like, okay, that was pretty cool. And so you always shoot for being the MVP sometimes. Like, oh, I want to see
Yeah,
myself, people watching me, what I do.
exactly.
But or like, people can turn this off, but when you reload, you can actually have it to where it does a graphic. Like maybe enhanced graphics to where like when you reload, it does something else. Like, uh, what's one? Like Call of Duty did one where like, or not Call of Duty, that game you talked about before, Counter Strike.
Oh yeah,
Didn't
Counter
they
Strike.
have like sometimes they would like you can flip the knife around constantly, like something weird, like when you're running around, you can just like mess with your stuff. I don't know.
I know there's some games where if you sit there and you literally don't move at all, they'll like
Yeah.
look at their gun or play
Hmm.
around with it for a second.
Yeah, always cool like that. So, what do you think is the future of the Havoc's team, Larsenauts, when it comes competitively? Like, how do you think the very first tournament's going to look like? Um, and I know like there's one that just came out that they might not even wait for private lobbies. They're going to try and run it
Yeah.
based off of just kind of being in the same server at the same time, which is going to be hard. I did give him my suggestions because we used to do that in population before we got private servers there. And basically, the only way to get it to work is that they would need the two lobby hosts for each team to be in the same region for it to
Yeah.
successfully work.
Mhm.
But so, how do you think it's going to look like if you want to just kind of dive into it?
It's going to be interesting just because like there's still kind of teams developing right now. So like
Yeah.
you have a few teams that everyone has heard of, and then you hear these other teams that kind of post here and there, and you're like, oh wow, this is a team. And then um, there's certain people who are trying to just now starting to form teams, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey man, you want to be on this team? And it's like, I'm already on a team. You're behind the power curve, bro. I'm sorry. I mean, I would
Yeah.
have loved to. I wish you would have asked me before, but I'm already committed. As far as Havoc goes, I feel like Havoc's definitely got a couple of very strong players.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel very confident that we are going to do very well. Am I going to say that we're going to go in there and win every game? No, I'm not going to say that we are going to. I definitely think we're going to, but I'm not going to say for certain, because that's pretty egotistical when you got something like that.
Yeah. And then we don't do it, and then it comes back to
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
You're
But
gonna
I
have
do
having this
feel,
clip coming back at you.
all right, I do feel extremely confident that Havoc is going to do very well in it. I'm hoping we take it home. We'll see though. I mean, it's not even an official tournament, the one coming up, but we still have some spots that we would like to, which you and I have discussed. We have a couple of spots that we would like to kind of cover down on or find more coverage for,
Mm-hmm.
and we haven't quite advertised for that. Little hint for anyone watching.
Yeah.
Stuff's coming up, so we definitely have a couple of shortfalls, but we've already kind of started thinking about strategies. Started thinking about, hey, how are we going to tackle this? What are some possibilities that we can do?
Mm-hmm.
So we have ideas. It's just very difficult without private lobbies, just because you want to do this with individuals who are skillful. You
Yeah.
don't want to do it with like bots, because that doesn't really give you an accurate estimate of whether or not it would work.
Unless they allow us to amp up how good the bots are.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, even then, it's kind of hard.
Because
You don't have that same human.
yeah, that human instinct. Because there's certain things that I can do with my character that I know a bot would never be able to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we will certainly see. Like I said, Havoc's got super strong players, so I'm pretty confident in our ability.
Yeah.
I'm curious what other teams are going to look like, how many
Mm-hmm.
teams we're going to have, and I think that's what it's really going to come down to.
Yeah. And do you think that maybe? So right now we thought that Lars Nuts was going to sell at 10% cheaper than what it was. I thought we saw something on Twitter or something. Well, now if you look at it on Oculus, it's actually 20% off right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
20% off right now. So if anyone's listening to this, don't know what Lars Nuts is, it's a hero shooter, very competitive. And I guess, I got an alert and I went out on my phone and I saw Lars Nuts and it was being sold for 20% off right now. And I was like, oh, we thought it was 10%.
Okay, that's pretty freaking wicked. Hopefully we get the word out there and get more players, because that's what's really going to make this community grow. That's what's going to make this
Yeah.
game have long term. I guess I can't talk.
Longevity.
Yeah, longevity is having more players, having a healthy community, having a not toxic community, which
Yeah.
so far I think, especially on the Discords and stuff, we've done an amazing job with Lars Knots and
Mm-hmm.
the community, how helpful they are, how non-toxic they are. I am a little concerned once private lobbies come out, if the toxicity might come out a little bit. I'm pretty confident though that we're gonna keep hold, because we kind of everyone who plays Lars Knots right now, I feel like prides themselves on being very kind and helpful, and a healthy and a safe environment to walk into for anyone who is looking to jump into a game.
Yeah.
Rather than some of those other games that I've heard are like extremely toxic, and people are like, oh, that's just, don't go there. It's just people thrashing on each other.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to hear that. No one wants to do that. I mean, a little competitive chat, a little competitive back
Yeah.
and forth. It's kind of fun every once in a while, as long as everything stays healthy. No one gets too egotistical, and everyone can kind of realize that we're all in the same community. We're all in this fight together.
Yeah, and I totally agree with all that, and that's especially like Havoc. Our whole entire motto is if you're toxic at all in our organization, you're just off the team. There's few times we've given a warning where something kind of got lost in the verbiage, but if it's blatantly there that you're being a toxic person, then you're out. Or if we get word that you came in or you had to be kicked off another team for toxic behavior, you're still not in good terms with us either, because as Havoc's its own organization, our whole entire thing is to make sure VR it becomes successful, healthy, non-toxic, because this is our future. If we don't be part of helping people out on giving them an environment to be at where they can be competitive, and even if they don't want to be competitive, they just want to be there and be part of the feeling of how people are when they talk and just learn just because they enjoy that type of stuff, then you got to start somewhere. And right now, VR is so new that if you don't start making your pretty much your what do you call it, your what's a tree got? Why can I even think about that right now? Roots. If you don't make your roots strong before you build this strong tree of VR, and, you know, kind of goes along with the whole VR jungle thing I got going on, then it's going to collapse. Like, it's going to get big. Something big is going to happen. Like, I see it right now in Population One. Like, it has, in my opinion, probably some of the most toxic people in VR. And people after this might message me and completely crap on me about this, but I have seen a lot of people just completely disrespect women, disrespect other people, do racist slurs, and I'm just like sitting there. I'm just like, why? Like, I know it's like, I don't know if it's a keyboard warrior syndrome or if it's just their mannerism, how they really are in real life. But it's something a lot of people need to correct.
Yeah, they actually had a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I forgot who it was. It was basically a couple of women who were talking about how healthy the environment for Larsenats is right now, and how safe it feels because they've gone to other games and had it basically kind of like sexual harassment in game, and it's like, are you serious? Like, why is this crap going on in other games? So I'm really glad to hear that Larsenats so far has a healthy and a positive environment for them to step into, because the more people we can include, this needs to be completely inclusive, not exclusive, kind of like how other games, not necessarily that they've developed them that way, but they've just kind of naturally, because unfortunately because of some of the people who are there, has become a little bit toxic, kind of like what we've been talking about. So hopefully we stay nice and healthy. Hopefully it stays a safe environment for everyone, and hopefully we just start getting more players and more players.
Yeah, and I know we saw a little bit of it for a second. You know, we had a lovely one day last week to where people were start talking about tournaments, and then some people, and I think this happens in every organization. Sometimes you just can't let everyone in. It's nothing against them. It's just you're trying to build a powerhouse of players who get along with each other. And if you bring one person in, like I brought in a really good player one time, they just didn't get along with one person on the team. And just because he likes me and he liked everyone else, you still have to play with them. And so at any point in time, if they're arguing, the team's arguing is the way that I look at it. And so when we turn people away because of certain situations or things we see that we don't particularly care about having them in our organization, then it just gets fed back into the whole community saying, oh, this didn't want to happen. I think last week it was a lot of miscommunication. A lot of people took things a little bit further because they saw they saw us down for a second. I always notice that people, when they see Havoc being looked at badly, people step on that real quickly. And that's what you're going to be when you're part of something that is already developed. And I'm not trying to brag about Havoc, but in VR, Havoc is probably one of the most established teams in like Population One or in Larsenats, just because I started this when pretty much everything got big. I was like, all right, this is my team. We'll see how it goes. And now we're here. So when people see like, oh, they have a problem, let's go ahead and make the problem way bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah.
So other than that, you have anything else you want to go over? Last little remarks or maybe like that. We've been on here for about an hour now. And so if you want to expand on anything else, you have anything else that you kind of have in your mind?
No, not that I can really think of. I'm excited to kind of take these next steps towards this update that we got coming up. I'm sure everyone's excited for it. Everyone's excited for the new map, the new specialist, which I think is the most talked about thing is, hey, who's the new specialist? What are they going to do? What are they bringing to the table? What abilities are they going to have? What type of character are they going to be? Along with some balancing things and just all the other stuff that's going to come out, hopefully all positive stuff with this update. So
do we know
what happens?
Do we know when it's going to be dropped?
September 30th.
September
So we
30th.
are looking at what, 11 days away?
11 days away.
So
So
11 days.
before we end this, I do want to know, just theoretically, what would you like to see the most out of an update like this? Like either game modes, like would you want a character, the switch over being more powerful, like kind of stuff like that.
The payload, I still don't quite know what payload is. I've
Oh,
never played
payload's fun.
Overwatch, so I know it's a lot of fun. I've heard great things, so I'm really looking forward to learning that and figuring
Mm-hmm.
out what it is. As far as character goes, there's been a lot of fun, cool options that have been thrown out there, from an elementalist to a bow user, to, like you said, maybe another healer, maybe another melee character. It's just like they've kept it pretty under wraps, which
Mm-hmm.
I mean is typical. They normally don't release that stuff until they're like, "Hey, we're ready." Usually that stuff doesn't get leaked, but I'm sure we're all very anxious to kind of see what types of things are coming. I hope they, like I said, bring out some new balances, find solutions to the solars, people having a stupid amount of solars issue, the
Mm-hmm.
random number generators, people not having characters right away. Um, we'll see. We'll see what they
Yeah,
do.
and is this the like? Have they done any other patches since then, or it's been like almost like quite a while since a good patch, right?
I think it's been, I think it'll have been like almost a month, when we hit September 30th since the last patch, because I think the last patch was about 2 weeks ago ish,
Okay.
I'm wanting to say.
And usually you see stuff happen about every week, but it seems like they're just compiling this all into one. Which I
Yeah, I feel
hopefully
like
I
that's
don't
what they're doing.
see something broke, because usually when you compile a huge update, there's always something fishy somewhere.
Yeah.
And Square was saying that they plan on releasing actual specs of the update, like a patch note, before it even drops. So that'd be interesting to really find out when that's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So I know I dive into those patch notes always, and people really need to start reading those fine tuned things, because they could really mess with your character, and it like
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because reading those, you can find something out about your character that you didn't know
mm-hmm,
before, or you wouldn't have known, had you not read them. Because I remember there was one time I read some of the notes, and I read, one of them for either Vod, Thal, or Chi, because those are kind of the guys I main, and I go, oh, that changes things a lot. I think it might have been, the crystallysis for Chi, how, like,
mm-hmm.
because in the very beginning when we first started, you would pop it, and then you could instantly make it explode, and it would just, same effect, it just killed whoever you were next to. And I learned this in a funny way, because there was one instance where first couple days in the game, I was playing Chi, and I was up against Kalima. I was like, oh god, she's gonna kill me, so I went to
Mm-hmm.
crystallysis, and she comes up right in front of me, and she starts waving, and I'm talking to my teammates. I'm like, yo, I need someone to help me. I'm
And
under
they're
this
just like
radiant.
blow up.
Yeah, I'm about to die. I'm about to come out of this crystallysis, and she's going to absolutely melt me. She's got both her SMGs pointed at my head right
mm-hmm.
now. Help! I don't have long left. And then, so it just like pop. It just shattered, and her body just goes flying. And I'm like, what just happened? That is so sweet that I know that.
So I wish that you had. Do you have that recorded saved somewhere?
Yeah, I do actually. It's on my clips on my
Do you
Twitch.
know? Did you get to see the name who you killed?
Ooh, I don't. That'd be interesting to go
Please
back and
look it
look
up,
at
because
it
that
though.
might have been me.
Really?
I'm not
Ooh.
joking. I have the exact same story, but on my end, being a Kalemia, when I first played, I saw the crystal, right? And
Yeah.
I waved at them, and I did not know it was going to kill me. I was just waiting for this guy, this person to come out, and all of a sudden, it just blows up right in my face. So, and just you saying that, kind of like, I've done the same scenario where I waved at somebody.
Oh man.
I think that's everyone's
It's
first experience that it happens to, because I didn't know, and still to this day, like I still really don't understand the full extent of cheese splash damage.
yeah. You mean? Oh, I found it. Let's see. Who is this?
Because weren't you laughing pretty hard
Uh,
about it?
yeah. Oh no, it's Thunder Gasol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's funny.
I would have laughed if it was me. I would have, because I've definitely
That
done that before.
Yeah. Well, it's insane because like at first when it first came out, no one knew what everything did,
Mm-hmm.
and because there weren't private lobbies, because you couldn't practice that, the only way to try it out was in game,
Yeah.
and sometimes that stuff was really hard. So,
Yeah. So you have any questions for me?
uh, none that haven't been discussed already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
thanks
So
for having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, always a pleasure bringing it. Like the thing is, I try and bring in as much of Havoc people in to talk about the organization, and especially the game they competitively play in. I'm gonna try and bring in other people that competitively play for other teams too, just not Havoc. And then, like I said, right now, as long as it still holds true, I plan on having a dev from the Larsenauts team on next Sunday. They kind of
That would
talk
be
about
awesome.
things. So hopefully be around that perfect time where maybe he might be able to speak up about some updates. I hope that he
Yeah.
might like give me little hints here and there. So hopefully that still happens. But other than that, this is VR Jungle, and then we had Jordan, which is U.S.M.C. Contra. Man, that's say that 5 times fast. That's a tongue twister. But do you have any platforms? I know you're on Twitch. Same thing as is it still USCMC Contra and
Yeah,
Twitch
it's U.S.M.C. underscore Contra.
underscore
No periods or
Contra
anything.
on
And
Twitch?
then it's the same thing on YouTube. I don't have too many videos. I know I made a couple of tutorials for, believe it or not, surprise surprise, VOD,
Yeah,
Chi and Thal.
yeah,
So those, I felt like those were kind of helpful, and they have I think they have some good information for newer players.
yeah.
So
And
those
so
were
is
good.
that YouTube the same? You can find it the same way name.
Yep, U.S.M.C. underscore Contra.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the message in the Discord, but I can actually post those as well and a link to your YouTube on actual Havoc's YouTube too.
Okay.
So we do that. So other than that, I'll be playing tonight. I don't know if you'll be playing tonight, but I'll be playing Larsenauts and good times from there. Like I said, VR Jungle on every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. Almost didn't have tonight because my power was out, so that was a good one. But anyways, Jordan, nice having you on here.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Take care.
Yep.